All right, welcome everyone to Spirit Coffee Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, I am Ginette Biro, and with me is Elyse Richmond, and we are some of the mediums and channelers at Avalon Spirit. Elyse is away right now, so it's just the two of us. And what we wanted to dive into is a very hot topic we've been seeing a lot lately, which is the celebrity, the canceling of the concept of celebrity and how we're seeing that with different social media influencers as well as celebrities as we know it. And not just to jump on that bandwagon, but what this means from a spiritual sense. So why we're seeing this happening energetically, even how it connects astrologically, because I randomly had a conversation with an astrology friend of mine about this just the other day. So we're going to dive
Really? I
into
haven't
this.
heard the goods on that. Tell
Yeah.
me. Because
Okay.
you sent me this amazing video of this woman who was talking about this, how like you can track according to astrological
Placement.
timelines. Yeah. Whether or not like what is going to be super influential in culture. And that we're
Oh,
moving out of the culture of the
celebrity.
celebrity and like that kind of placement of like authority and
Mhm.
like the like giving you the end all be all because you're a celebrity and
Yeah.
like we're moving out of that.
We are. We're
Yeah.
moving out of this like material based energy of like, I want, I need to follow this to get what is deemed necessary to what do I want from within? What does
Yes.
that represent? And who am I? Versus I want to be like, it's like, well, this is who I am.
Yes.
So we're moving into that. Now, in terms of which planets are doing what, I don't know I
No.
can't remember. She rattled off so many different ways in which it's conjunct and this and this and this. Um, I do know that one really interesting change in the planets is when Jupiter moves into Gemini on the 25th and conjuncts with something else, which again, I can't remember, Uranus possibly. Anyways, she said that's also this big push into this whole new like understanding of abundance and what abundance means with the downfall or the letting go of something old, right? And that Jupiter is a huge planet. When Jupiter moves, like things happen. And
Oh,
so,
Jupiter's the bomb.
yeah, Jupiter really is. It'll highlight things we need to see. And so, that in connection to something else, I think it was connecting to possibly Chinese astrology. Again, I should have done my research before we popped on, but it just kind of popped into my head. Anyways, is also this different period that we're entering as well, which is one of like culminating something and stepping into new growth, which is more connected to like feminine energies of who am I? What do I feel? What am
Yeah.
I now versus following something?
Right. And that like so you can see that on so many different levels, right? Like so this is showing up with like the consumerism thing, the like whole herd mentality, everybody kind of following the lead of whoever's the one at top that's saying like to look this way, to use this product, but, right? Like it's just I think people are like, ugh,
Mhm.
enough. You see people, and you don't all have to sell all your things and go live on a piece of land and grow your own food and homeschool your kids and stuff. Although, like, dream, I would love that. But at the same time, it's like, how can you implement that energy into your existence? Because then the drive is different.
Mhm.
The why is different. And all of a sudden, you're not getting lit up from the drive to have consume in order to chase this artificial perception of like success, right?
Mhm.
Is having. Because I think what we're seeing is like our waking up to it is also deprogramming that part of us. And that's what's like, so then therefore the connection's not made anymore. It's like with the deprogramming and the increase of our vibration, and then in conjunct to the planetary alignments, it really does make for one beautiful cesspool of waking up
Yeah,
and saying this doesn't really serve me anymore. And you can see it. You can see it
I
with
can see it.
large corporations. You can see it with um like I feel like they still want us to believe that there's such a big thing happening when we're like, no, people stopped caring about that long time ago, but you're
Mhm.
really pushing it still. You know what I mean? Like
And it's
certain.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And it's interesting too, because a lot of what we're moving into, how would I say, collectively, is into being more authentic and understanding who we are more and what that really means. And what that's doing is that's showing the reality of the false energies within a lot of what we search for entertainment, right? Like what we look to for
totally.
entertainment, we're realizing it's not something we, and I'm saying collectively and generally, would aspire to be, but rather something that is so very false. We're seeing through the veil of what has been carefully curated for us to
Yes.
take in.
Yes.
And we're
Yeah.
realizing the false nature of it. Now, I am not saying that everybody who is celebrity is bad. There's a lot of black and white statements out there of like all celebrity is horrible. I don't agree. I think there's gray in everything. Do I think there's a lot of false energy in that? Yes, I do. Absolutely, I do. But um, I think what we need to focus on is how this is really, like you said, like deprogramming and crumbling down this one construct that has been front and center for about the last 100 years. The concept of celebrity
Yeah.
has been this central feature for the last century, and now
Yeah.
it's starting to crumble in a
Yeah.
significant way. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, like I said, like there's so many contributing factors to it. And I do think that there are some individuals that came in to be in that celebrity role in order to help facilitate change, and
Mhm.
so in one way or the other. So I do trust the way in which things are unfolding, also the way in which things are like surfacing. We're starting to see a ton of things surface that are pretty like yuck, right? There's a lot of
Mhm.
yuck that's surfacing for sure. But like we said before, it's an opportunity to transmute the energy and really choose where we want to focus our energy for like our ascension and the greater good, right? And
Mhm.
so if we want, and I love social media for that too. Like there's the polarities of everything. I get that, but I really like that as we see the transition of the like perception of celebrity and you got to do this, where we're starting to see things on like Instagram or TikTok that is a little bit different, where you can start to hear voices from more of the like collective, more of the
Mhm.
mainstream actual like voices of what people are really feeling versus things that are really tailored to
Yeah.
what we want to, and we're waking up to it. Like I don't know many people who can't like say I believe that most stuff that we're watching on mainstream media, like on like the news, 6 o'clock news, is very tailored to what um, would fit a narrative of having a lot of people believe at once, so
Mhm.
that it's easier to do the things that I'm trying to be really careful with my words.
I know, so am I. And and yeah, because there are so many, there's so many pieces to it. It's actually, I think, a much more delicate topic than maybe people are making it out to be. Because I think there's so many moving parts in it, right? There's so many moving parts. What I get excited about though is the big change energy and like crackdown, crumbling, shake up, whatever word you want to use, energy there. And what's
Yeah,
interesting is spirit in one of the sessions that I did recently, in terms of the entertainment industry, they showed me they said there was a complete reshuffling of the deck. And I was like, okay. And they're like, basically, the four aces that used to control the top. So you got 52 cards in the deck. You have the four main aces that they were saying like control the rest of the cards. Now those aces are being pulled out and the deck is being completely reshuffled. And so that's what's happening energetically. And there's such purpose with that
yeah,
to like rewrite the way we do community, the way we do leadership, the way we do like all kinds of things, promotion of things that matter,
yes,
right? Because it's not like we still need leaders in a community. right? We can't just abolish all of that, but we need to do it differently.
Yeah.
And so that's what the reshuffling is that they're saying, like, and
Yes.
it's changing focus to different things that maybe matter more versus what we
Yes.
used to think mattered in the old
Yes.
paradigm.
Yes. But they're saying to remember what you choose to focus your attention on is going to continue to show up for you. So it doesn't matter if you want to choose to focus on the downfall of things and the corruption and the like some of the yucky stuff. Like if you take a nosedive into it, it can lead you into some like rank info. Also, if you go and really lean into things like we talk about on a regular basis of ascending and moving into higher frequency timelines and how to align with our higher self and make choices that are based upon, moving forward in that timeline and releasing yourself from the old paradigm and, and connecting in community. And so really it is a train of thought. It
Mhm.
is a projection of your reality. And it's like, what level does your avatar want to play in? Do you want to go underwater? Do you want to stay above? Do you want, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so truly they're saying like, be really cognitive about where your thoughts go and where you're directing it, because that's your search engine, that's your Google button. So
Mhm.
if you want to go in and really dive into some of the stuff that pulls you down, like you can go there, but then that's what you're going to continue to see. That's what's going to continue to show up in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
The stuff that shows up on your phone all the time, the stuff that shows up in your interactions with your community, your relationships, it is a ripple effect.
Mhm.
But the beautiful thing is that that reality is up to you. So if you do want to dive into something that is really corrupt, you're going to continue to find it, and that's going to be your existence. It absolutely will be.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like that glass wall effect.
Yeah,
It's like that perception. What you're going to look for, you're going to see.
totally.
What were you going
Totally.
to say?
I feel them coming in really strong to channel something. So
Okay.
I'm like, I can't formulate a sentence. It's obviously them. So just give me one sec. Okay, so this is interesting. It was going to be a channel, but they're wanting to show me things. So I'm just going to keep my eyes closed because it's really like an in-between here. What they're showing me, and this is the three guides of the light, is they're saying there's a big correlation to what we're seeing happening now within this month and this downfall and crumbling of those in prominent positions of power. And it's not just limited to celebrity in terms of entertainment, but it also goes into different ways we see celebrity, even in influencers, even in politicians,
Yeah.
those in positions of power, those four aces, like they talked about. They're saying a lot of this had to do with the reconfiguring that was taking place in April. So for many people in April, it felt like we popped back into an alternate timeline. In March, we were heading in a direction of this newer timeline. April bounced us back into the other one, which gave us an opportunity to clean up different karmic loops within our own beings and also collectively so that we could pop back into this destined forward moving timeline now clearer and cleaner. And they're saying this is why the messages had come through to keep our energy clean, to be very clear with yourself in what you're aligning with so that when we popped into this forward moving timeline, we would be more grounded and more stable and more set to observe what's actually happening and make the most of this fast-paced energy in May and this highly transformative time. And it connects directly with the fact that Jupiter is coming in and bringing in a ton of abundance and stabilizing that abundance. They're saying that's a big piece of what Jupiter is doing on May 25th, is bringing stability and anchoring into our beings and bodies this new momentum for the next cycle. For the amount of time that Jupiter is in Gemini, there's a big anchoring of this new. And so that's why we're seeing this happening so fast, so many crumbling. They're showing me dominoes, like this domino effect of things that are crumbling, it's very, very purposeful. The thing we have to keep in mind, though, is not to jump into ego-based consciousness, or, as we would say, know-it-all consciousness, or better than. Because even though these crumblings are happening, they're happening for a purpose, but they're also happening to humans. And so we have to recognize our own humility in watching the crumblings happen for other people, and keep
Mhm.
our heart energy open, um, to allow these balances to happen without bringing on karma or ego in the observation of it. And that helps us stay really clear in our own path as we move forward through May.
That's really beautiful.
So interesting, hey?
Yeah, I really feel that though,
Yeah.
because April was kind of like a dirty beggar. Like that was a tough one, but it makes sense
Yeah.
though. It makes sense because we were kind of talking about this too, about the movement forward now and being able to kind of solidify in the energy right now and like heart space, and being like, I feel the peace of it. I feel like the opening of the peace and the understandings where it's like, oh, some things really surface. But the purging effect of a lot of individuals is going to happen. And so it's like making space and that humility and like going to your heart space and knowing that some of these big upheaval energy changes is going to affect people a lot. And so
Hmm.
having compassion and love for the individuals as they experience it on their journey is going to be really
Hmm.
important, because we're going to be doing it at different times.
Yeah, like just they're saying again, like resist the temptation to fall into the drama effect of it, which
Yeah.
is that like gossipy thing. It doesn't mean we can't talk about it, but we can discuss something. But they're showing me like when gossip comes in, gossip becomes this like snowballing energy that feeds into your body, this like um lower frequency, almost like candy result, right? Like when candy goes into the body, it gives the body sugar for sure, but it's not the best sugar for the body to run on. So
Right.
like gossip energy brings in an energy, but we
Yeah.
need to communicate and discuss things with that compassionate heart, like you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like interesting too, because we're talking about like celebrity stuff. And think about how much energy was given to the majority of people. I would say more so back in the day a little bit. I don't know what day, but like back in my day a bit, where it was that gossip energy that was very, very addictive.
Yeah.
That's why people watched the shows. That's why people followed E! News and all the like reality TV, because that sense of like drama and gossip was fed to us like sugar. So it was
Yeah,
like an
it was.
addiction,
Yep, it was.
really. And then now it's like, no judge, okay? No judge. It just goes on different things and what you need at different times. But like my need, not my need, but like the resonance in that now is completely different, where it's
I agree.
way harder for me to find a show. Like, what show do you want to watch?
I know,
Like
right?
I don't
Planet Earth.
know. Totally.
Planet Earth
Planet Earth all day long.
all day long.
Consciousness of whales again and
I
again.
know.
Or I love things that are like travel shows, or where you get to learn about different like
Hmm.
cultures, or like really great stories, that kind of stuff. But it does change, because I don't want to watch somebody get torn apart for being vulnerable or
Yeah.
judged on their appearance. It just feels so
Yeah.
disharmonic.
Yeah.
Is that a
Agreed.
word? Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
does.
I think that is what is like, that's just another example of how the culture aspect of this, like where that used to have such a pull over people, and people like were kind of addicted to it and then wanted to like strive towards that lifestyle. Well, that was
Hmm.
really, really great for a lot of systems, because we would feed our energy into it, our
Yeah.
time and money, and what we were, putting ourselves toward, and our perception of selves, because we're watching that, we're feeling like we're cannot be good enough. Right. And then what are all the things saying? Well, if you don't feel good about yourself, then do this and this and this and this. Right. And you're like, okay, that's going to make me feel good about myself. Right. And
Yeah.
it's just this cycle. But we really are moving out of that in so many different ways. There's all the different things, right,
Mhm.
that is changing. And
Yeah.
people are really waking up to that and saying, hey, remember what it feels like when we all came together and how much power we really have together and how good that feels,
Hmm.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can feel the change big time.
I do too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Any insights on when you what is my question is like when it would be complete, like how long it would take, like when would it be complete and we see the reemergence of
Mhm.
what it will be or what it is. Do you get
Yes.
any
You know
insight?
what? That's so interesting because I have like really leaned into that timeline too and like trying to understand the trajectory of that for a number of different things. Hold on, let me just see. Okay, so right away, now I've said this to you before too, and it's really difficult to actually give specific timing, and we've always talked about that. But as far as the trajectory of timing goes right now, according to how we're
In this
moving, and
snapshot.
yes,
Yeah.
we have the time between now and 2028, where there is going to be a continuous of kind of, this is how they show it to me, okay? It can't all be one big upheaval like that, or else humanity would just like, well, perish because it'd be too much at once. So what we're enduring for the as we go like up to the peak, we're going like upheaval, turn, surface, calm. Upheaval, turn, surface, calm, right? So
Hmm.
we're going to go through these influxes of energy, these awakenings, this upheaval, this surfacing, transmuting, rest, move up, like digging,
Hmm.
like where the 2020 visual was very much the waterfall, right? This is very much like digging from underneath and
Hmm.
surfacing and bringing it to the surface and then calming it down in order for us to rebuild the foundation. So this is all foundation work.
Yeah.
Okay. So they said once we hit about 2028, it's going to be way more of, okay, now we can actually see the real surface. And now how do we want to build, because it's not like we're starting there. We've done so much work to get there. But
Hmm.
for like 2025, 26, and 27, these 3 years, we're going to increase our consciousness. We're going to have more heart-centered relationships. We're going to see the surfacing. So like that's a part of the surfacing. And then the rebalancing is we're going to see a lot of the light come up. And as it kind of like shakes down and calms down, we're going to see a lot of the stuff come to light. And so it's going to, but it's still a bit of a rough road. Okay.
Hmm.
But like they're saying, like, don't focus on the, oh boy, it's going to be rough road, because the stuff that is going to be dug up and surfaced, we're going to be able to manage what comes to the surface a lot more consciously than we would have before. So we had to get here in order. So it's all on a trajectory up in our consciousness. So continue to be led by your heart space. Let that be your flashlight, your light of awareness. Open up. Don't be so close-minded onto how things have to be or how you were taught they have to be. Or if you feel like you're coming up against it, or you kind of don't feel safe because the certainty isn't there, have practice leaning into that, because the certainty aspect of it is going to change a bit. But trust, the more that you trust that the universe has your back and that you're working in a higher frequency timeline now, you can work with what surfaces and you have the tools and it will happen quicker than ever before. So really like have it in your focus. Remember, what you focus on is going to be what is presented. So really open yourself up to receiving for your highest good. And
Hmm.
as the trajectory goes forward and things surface, you're able to deal with it in a much higher consciousness. And then when we get to that point, it is going to be like, it's never going to be fully done, obviously, but like the main things of what we're doing in this consciousness shift is going to be surfaced, and we're going to be living in a um like a collective understanding of where we found ourselves now.
Hmm.
So like it's like the path, it's the journey. Where do you want to find yourself?
Yeah.
and keep that rolling with you. And then all of a sudden you look around and you're like, oh, you're here too. You're here, you're here, you're here. Because we all collectively worked in that frequency, in that timeline to create this beautiful foundation.
Hmm.
But the foundation, like the earth has to get tilled a bit.
Yeah. I love that imagery of like digging it up and settle and dig it up and settle. And when you were saying that, my guides were showing me, they're like, yes. And look how much that has, like, we did the waterfall, but in terms of lessons, wisdom, and consciousness, look at how much we have learned in wisdom since 2020, since we experienced COVID and what that brought
Yeah.
for all of us in the big discussions of it. Black Lives Matter, gender equality, gender identification. Like we have had that coming up in different ways to create these conversations and to
Yes.
educate ourselves of, wow, what I realized I didn't know. I wasn't
Yes.
brought up to know this, and look what
Yes.
this taught me. You carry that wisdom. And with each of these things, and even with what we're seeing with the crumbling of what is celebrity, we're learning, wow, look what I didn't realize about that. Look what
This
I
life.
used to idolize and realize that doesn't align with me anymore. Like, so
That's right.
everything that we go through, every time we pull up that dirt, we see what's underneath and we learn about it. Then we go to
Hmm.
the next one and we learn about it. And so I get it. Like by the time 2028, like you're saying, comes around, we will be able to work to restructure with so much more wisdom,
Yes.
shared knowledge, openness to what do you know about this? What do you know about this? Let's
Yes.
work together. And I think that's really what it's bringing it to is this whole renegotiation of what community actually is.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And then one last thing that they want me to say in connection with this imagery is that when things get tilled up and brought to the surface and you can see some of this stuff, just be aware that you can observe it without being brought into it. Okay.
Mhm.
Because again, that's all about your consciousness part of it, about like what you want to see and um like how you bring your awareness into kind of like your reality, right? And so it's really important to, and even if you get pulled into a little bit, you'll feel it. You'll
You'll
feel
feel
that
it.
this
You
is out
will
of
feel it.
alignment to be like,
Yeah.
whoa, got a little dirty there for a hot sec. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull, and then it's easier almost to be able to connect with others who also observed it. Like, did you see that?
Mhm.
Yes, I did. And then not get pulled into it with the gossip and the judgment or anything like that. It's just like, wow,
Yeah.
how
We get on
lucky
things
are
are
we
changing.
to be a part of this change?
Yeah. Absolutely. Amazing. All right. Well, that feels pretty complete to me.
Yeah, and connect with the things that do align. Like really trust the things that do balance you and do align, especially when major things get surfaced and we feel a bit disconnected and like, oh, I'm craving certainty. How come all of this is so much change, whatever. The things that you can stick to that really bring you comfort are the things that are like that wholeness part. So your heart space for sure. And the little tools, but also like relationships are really important, like really strong foundational relationships. So whether it's in friendships or your partner or like also like your children, you don't have to like lean into them for therapeutic things, but like go into the joy of their heart. Like they'll have these little glimmers of like love, light things that show up for us to be able to be like, oh yeah, that feels good. That's a heart space
Mhm.
thing. I'm going to connect with that. Also, animals, they're saying animals, gardening, anything connecting you to the frequency of Gaia is so beautiful. Go to the body of water, go to the lake, go to the ocean, go to the river, stream that's by your house, walk through the trees, talk to the trees. Like these are all the things that you can focus your attention to that has that like the strength of I
Like
want to say like
substance.
yes, I want to say
Yeah.
realness, but like that's such a subjective thing too. So the substance,
Hmm.
yeah, that is in energetic alignment with you, that resonates in the same frequency, and we resonate to keep that resonance consistent. We have to continue to seek and find and interact with the things in that same frequency,
Hmm.
right? So if we're going into the gossip and that like we can see it, we can observe it, but to keep our resonance in the frequency that we're comfortable with, connect to the things that are consistent with that.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. All right. Well, thank you
Okay.
everyone for joining us as always. And hopefully this gives you something to think about and like
Yes.
different perspectives and just really being real with yourself about your observations of it.
Yes.
So we'll leave you with that. And
Yes.
please do share, subscribe, like, comment, all that goodness. And we will see you all next week. Have a
Yes.
good
Take care.
one.